Lift your hands, everybody. Be lifted. Be lifted high. Hey. Oh, be. Hey. For you are holy, righteous and worthy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Oh, Lord. Hey, we lift your name. We lift your name. We lift.
All right, good evening, everyone. We celebrate you all today. It's another edition of today's Hangout. And we trust that you are all doing great. We bless God and we trust God that God will magnify himself again through his word today. And today promises to be great. And we are just going to be talking about another topic, a very interesting topic that we've captioned domestic abuse and violence. We all know all over the world that this is one of the two the devil is using right now to ravage a whole lot of families, even especially Christian families. And many people have lost their lives and their marriages, lost their children because of domestic violence and abuse. So today we will be talking about this very important topic, and we trust God that God will bless you all as you join us on this platform today. Please remember we have the Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG Graceville. Please like on our Facebook, on our Twitter, on our Instagram at RCCG Graceville. We trust God that God will bless you as you join us on this edition. Please remember we need your comment and your contribution to this topic as we do justice to it today. And so with me also is Mrs. Shokoya. As our guest speaker today, you're welcome on this platform, Ma. Thank you so much. And also I have this beautiful woman, Mrs. Tomilola Daniel. She'll be the one to be anchoring this section today with us. Thank you so much. Over to you, Ma.
Okay. Thank God for the convention that just passed, Dominion. I pray that God will give us the grace to dominate in every aspect of our lives in Jesus' name.
Amen.
So, Mrs. Shokoya, you're welcome.
Thank you.
On this edition of the Hangout. And the topic we are discussing today seems to be a very sensitive topic, and I feel it cuts across everybody. It's either you have someone who is going through it or someone that knows someone, and we've heard stories all around or for some past years of people dying as a result of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
So in few words, I'd like to know, for people who don't really understand what domestic violence is or domestic abuse, a lot of people see domestic violence as maybe beat somebody or something. So I want us to explain to our viewers out there what domestic violence or abuse is.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm very, very grateful to be here. So very quickly, we would say domestic violence can be described as, behaviors that tend towards violence, control, intimidation, from one person to another. Usually, it involves people that are closely related, partners, family. That is what terms it as domestic, because it's within this, small sect, of maybe the husband and the wife, or the father to the children, the mother to the children. So this is why we call it domestic violence. And when we talk about domestic violence, it can be, like you said, it's not only physical. Okay. It can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be psychological, it can be financial. So it cuts across. It's beyond the physical signs of abuse, the physical marks of injuries. Some people might be going through a hell lot, and you don't see any, scars on them, but they are going through a lot. So all this is what we describe as domestic violence. And like I said, it can be emotional as well. It can be psychological. It might not necessarily be somebody hitting you, but somebody telling you some words that, leave you shattered, leave you, broken. Your self-esteem is messed up. And that is another form of domestic violence.
Violence.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you, you said something now, and maybe a lot of viewers may not understand, and I also would like you to shed more light. You talked about the fact that domestic violence can also be financial.
Yes.
So how do we explain financial domestic violence?
When we talk about financial domestic violence, it's, you know, remember in our definition we mentioned, you know, the behaviors that tend towards intimidation, control,
Yeah.
you know, exerting power. So for instance, like maybe a husband to a wife or the father to the children. And maybe this woman is a housewife, solely dependent on the husband.
Right.
But because the husband knows that he is the sole provider, he gets offended and he says, okay, I'm not going to provide money. Some women do complain. They tell you, for me to get money to even make my hair, for me to get money to even buy pad, it's a problem. That's a form of domestic violence. Because the husband feels, okay, I'm in position to provide for you, and I'm going to withhold that from you. That is violence. That's violence.
So what do you think, or what is the cause of domestic violence? Because for me, I would say, why should anybody be violent or abusive towards someone you should actually show love and care to?
Exactly.
Because it's like the opposite. I'm supposed to love you, I'm supposed to care for you, I'm supposed to protect you, I'm supposed to be your friend, whether it's good and whether it's bad. I'm supposed to be your comfort zone. So why should this same me, who should be your comfort zone, who should be your caregiver and all the likes, now be your tormentor? I think there is something missing. So what could be the cause?
A lot of reasons, I would say. And it's a wide range, you understand? From, I'll go back to the issue of control, the issue of power. Again, for some, that is the only way they feel they can exert power. They can feel manly.
Okay.
Some, it even stems from some insecurities. So for someone that has a very, very insecure or low self-esteem, he feels that, okay, the only way I can feel or act manly is to be able to show physical power. So he feels, okay, so by the time, you know, you hit this person, the person believes or knows that you are very strong and powerful, and then they begin to fear you. Other reasons, it might also be from frustration.
Okay.
It might also be from upbringing. That also goes a long way. Because some people, violence is the only way they know. And that, of course, it stems even from a home that domestic violence has been the order of the day. So this is the only way this person knows to communicate. So that becomes his means of communication. So the reasons why, you know, domestic violence occurs, it's a long list, I would say. A long list. And sometimes it doesn't even start off as that. It starts off all lovey-dovey. And then there might be signs, though.
Okay.
But then we are too caught up.
Okay. So, Ma, before you continue to the signs, I would like Pastor Femi to help us say hello to our viewers. Let's acknowledge our viewers.
All right, thank you so much, Ma. I want to use this opportunity to appreciate the likes of Mr. Jeremiah Jacob and Chinedu Gariga Kingsley. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for following us on this very important and crucial topic, domestic violence and abuse. We hope that every other one, all over the world, please, this is a time you need to join on this topic, and let's discuss, let's do justice to this topic. We promise that at the end of today you will be blessed. Thank you so much. We anticipate also your questions and your comments as regards this topic. Thank you. Before you proceed, I just want to chip in something while you were talking about some of the factors that could result to domestic violence, and you said it. I really want to shed more light also on that. That talks about from the angle of the way an individual is being brought up. Just like you said, that some people, what they know or the way they know to exert power or show authority, command is through violence, through shouting, through, you know, until they see somebody crying. you know, it gets so bad that some people, I don't want to go into that now, but maybe as time goes on, if you don't cry, if they don't see that you feel bad, they don't think they've done anything. If you're smiling, if you're happy, it's like something is wrong. The message, until they see tears all over you, until they see that you being a happy person is no longer there, as if you must be broken before they know that, yes, this person is really feeling bad. I think that's for some people, that's when they know that they're actually in command. And the reason why I need to say one or two things about this is because I happen to know somebody very close to me, happens to be one of my sister that I knew got married, and you know, things got so bad in that marriage that even as at the point when she was pregnant, the husband used to beat her. It was that bad. And sometimes I'm like, how can somebody be pregnant of your own child?
Yes.
Instead of you to always be all over, and the next thing you always think of is to beat her. You know, sometimes I try to like imagine what could have been the reason why this man could be doing like this. But I feel that some people, it's not just because of circumstance. There are people that are rich, they are well-to-do, and they have everything, but it is because that's the way they were brought up. Maybe some of these traits came from when they were growing up. The way, the language they saw their parents displayed. The mother happens to always beat the father. The father happens to always beat the mother. And this way where they got their strength from. And this thing they also brought into their marriage. And that's why you say chaos. I just want to add that to what we're talking about.
So I would like to, you were saying something about, before we go on to the signs.
Okay.
Since we've discussed the causes, you were saying that the person, or you want to show that you are manly, you have the power, you wield the power as the sole provider. I want to ask, is it only women that suffer domestic abuse?
Not at all. It's not only women. In fact, now the statistics of men who suffer domestic violence is actually high.
Wow.
Men
Yes,
that suffer
is.
domestic violence?
Yes,
Wow.
it
Wow.
is high, but because he's a man,
So keep
he'd
his
rather
ego.
not talk about it. Yes, he feels ashamed. How can I come out to say that I'm suffering? There are some men, some very young marriages that the men don't go home until 10, 11. They just hang around and wait for it to get very, very late so that they can. So men do suffer domestic violence. And I would say for some women can be very violent, actually.
Yeah.
Some women can be very violent. The one that is not physically violent is verbally
Violent.
You know, a woman, you give her one word, she will produce 10. And she will magnify it and modify it and
very right,
serve it to you very hot.
Very right.
So some women can be that. And then there's the part of Proverbs that says that it's better to live on top of a roof or something.
I've
That-
forgotten that.
yes,
Live
there's-
with a contentious woman.
A woman that will continually just keep giving you words that will kill you. So it's not only women that suffer domestic violence. Men do suffer domestic violence also.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So, is it only, okay, we've come to realize that men also suffer domestic violence. I know that, but I never knew that the statistics was that high. Do children, daughters, sons, suffer domestic violence? One way or the other. It may not be, sometimes when we talk about domestic violence, we see it related to the women-in-law. So, do we think, in your own opinion, do you feel children also suffer domestic violence?
In fact, they bear the brunt most of the time. Now, I'm talking about them experiencing it indirectly, where it is happening between the father and the mother. They suffer it. They see these things. It messes up with their mind.
Yeah.
They see this. Now, children, sexual violence also falls under domestic violence. Yeah. And a lot of children are at risk of that. A lot of children suffer from that. What we find is that, in fact, they tell you these days that stranger sexual abuse or stranger violence is a myth. The violence that children experience is domestic. It's very, very domesticated. It's not the one that is stranger.
From outside.
Comes from outside. It's either the uncle or the brother,
cousin,
or the cousin,
brother.
or the father, or the stepfather, or, okay, take it outside a bit, or the teachers. You know, so children are at a very, very high risk of violence. And it is not by strangers. It is by people who are known to them, people who they trust. So directly and indirectly, the children even suffer it more.
May God help us today.
Amen.
Okay,
Amen.
so I'd like to ask, you know, I've come to a point whereby I meet people that have suffered domestic violence, and I'm like, didn't you know before, you know?
Yeah.
And some will tell you that I didn't know, or I didn't see it, or I saw it, but I didn't know it was like this.
Yes.
So what are the signs we need to look out for in intended spouses?
Yes.
Because I believe that when you're already in the marriage,
Exactly.
there are some measures that you cannot take.
True.
But to save yourself the trouble, what are those signs we need to look at? What are those signals? What are those red lights? One needs to, in its lowest state.
Yes.
It may not. The guy may not need to slap you.
May not be
It may not.
glaring.
Yes, but in its lowest state, what are the signs one needs to look out for, or does a spouse need to look out for, or a man need to look out for in the intended
woman,
wife,
exactly,
or
as
the
well.
intended husband looking for,
Vice versa.
What are the signs you think they should look out for?
Actually, you see, these things are not, should I say, it's not rocket science.
Okay.
There are always signs, no matter how subtle. If we really want to tell ourselves the truth, there are always signs. It might just start with him raising his voice or shoving you when he's angry. You're not married then, but he gets angry and then he pushes you. Trust me, by the time you are married, he won't just push you.
It will
It will
struggle.
magnify. That's the truth of the matter. So usually, especially during courtship and dating, there are signs that you see. When you engage this person, when you know each other over time, of course, you will get into arguments, you will talk, you will see how this person reacts. When there is some pressure mounted, there are little signs. And then we must also say the truth. The truth of the matter is this. My dear brothers and sisters, there are some people who have grown up and socialized into saying or knowing that, you know what, I am a man and I am a man. For me to be able to exercise control in my family, I will beat a woman. Some people are like that.
Okay.
They have been like that before you came into the picture. They are not suddenly going to
change. Before you proceed into that, when we're actually talking about bringing this topic on board, I was thinking, okay, we're talking about Christian homes, but there are men that have this kind of orientation
Yes.
you're talking about.
Even in the church.
And they've brought it into the church. It's already part of their orientation.
Yes.
They may not have had their avenue to express that orientation, because consciously or unconsciously, it has become part of them.
Yes.
Now, they've not had an avenue to express, either through relationship or through marriage. Now, what do you think God has to say about that? You see men who tell you that God says, I am the head of a home.
Oh, yes. Definitely.
She has to be submissive.
Oh, yes.
What do you have to say to such men or to such women who have grown in abusive homes and are now Christians, and they are like telling you, I cannot take any nonsense from any man.
Yes.
So when the man, and they are both born again Christians, but you cannot remove that human nature, that background that has been embedded in them.
Exactly.
What do we tell this kind of people that, in as much as God told you to be the head, in as much as God told you to submit, or you found yourself grow in a home that was violent, what do we have to say to these people that, see, God said you should be the head, but this is not the way.
Exactly.
Maybe they need to see it from the word or in the way God relates with us to change their orientation before we move further.
In fact, I've never seen a word so bastardized, so trivialized, so what other English should I even use now than the word submission in marriage. Everybody comes with their own definition. As it suits them, you must submit.
Yeah.
The Bible says submit. The Bible says submit with their own various definitions
of submission.
You know, but it's very important. So for the church, like you said, so all these people are coming in with their own perceptions that they have imbibed over a long time. And the truth of the matter is, it won't just go away overnight. It will take a lot of orientation, reorientation. Like the Bible says in Romans 12:1, you know, continually renew your mind. That is when the transformation will come. That's when it will come. There is no justification for violence. It is not the way. There are other ways where that conflicts can be resolved. Not necessarily exerting violence.
I'm not even coming to the state of conflict. I'm coming to the state of a man claiming that when you talk of submission, that is when it comes to conflict, maybe between the man and the woman have difference of opinion. But when it comes to, I'm talking of when it comes to a man trying to show that, see, I am in charge. It has got nothing to do with maybe a difference of opinion. It could be, I've said this.
Yeah.
That is how it is to be done. Or he comes into the home and expects the woman to go on her knees and, oh, daddy, you are, you know, I'm just trying to paint a picture. It may not be so proper, but I'm saying that the women or their wives revere at the presence of their husband, like, this man is back. You know, the Lord is back. Is it supposed, because of the way the husband is running the affairs of the home, do we think, and they don't see anything wrong in it, they feel, oh, God said I'm the head.
Yes.
It must be my way or no other way. Because you know that there are times that these things are, they seem to be violent or abusive to the women because they cannot air their views, they cannot air their mind, they bottle up a lot. What do we have to say to such men?
Well, for such men, it's going to be a tough one for such a woman, actually. And at this point in time, it's even, it's to the women we would even address. Now, this is not to say that we are justifying their actions. This is not to say that we are, you know, permitting their action. But as a woman, so you have this person that, you know, the way our people put it, a dry crayfish is very difficult to bend. You understand? So while you are trying to, or praying that he works on himself, how do you handle him? You must apply wisdom. One gift that we women have is we have the ability to make a man do what we want, by making him think that he's the one making the decisions. But if you apply enough wisdom, you will be able to do what you want him to do. It goes back to submission. You will stoop to conquer. It is not everything that you want to show that, myself, I'm somebody here now. You know, show me some respect or something. There are ways that you can go about it. There are some men that are set in their ways. It will take a while for them to, you know, bend, rethink, and it's okay, how am I actually doing? But you, on the other hand, you must apply wisdom. Especially in a case where, okay, you are now married. We are not even talking about a relationship where you can decide, okay, do I really want to continue with this, or do I want to walk away? You are in this. Do I want to make this work? So you have to apply that, because really, some men are fixed. Does that mean that they cannot change? Does that mean that it permits them to do what they want? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So it's working together, essentially.
I want to also say something as regards that, Ma. And also, when it comes to also dealing with individual, when it has to do under the circumference of family, because just like we said, the topic is domestic violence, which means it's within a circle of a group of people. And yes, as much as we are together, either spouse or children, father to children, or family settings,
Yeah.
we should also as individual, especially for the men or for the woman also, we should understand the place of temperament.
Yes.
Because, for instance, somebody who is phlegmatic or who
Is choleric.
choleric or
Yeah,
understands, and
yeah.
when you try to understand individuality and their temperament, also you know that this kind of person, the fact that this person doesn't talk, doesn't mean I should exert
advantage,
pressure or take
exactly.
advantage. There are some people, there are some women or men that they keep silence. No matter what you talk to them, they don't react. Somebody like me, okay, I might want to react because somehow I'm prone to like,
That's not your nature.
that's not my nature. So, okay, I happen to have a wife that she's calm. She might not, it will take a whole lot of time to really stir up anything in her. And at the end of the day, like, if you are known, really, I just want a state of, in families or in the settings of when you are group people, when as individual you have that understanding of the personality of this person and the temperament, you are able to really deal with this person that, look, there are things that I don't bring on the table now that if I bring, it might even be your child, that if I don't want violence in this home, this guy can begin to act funny. Yes, it's my child, it's my son, but it doesn't mean because I'm the boss, I should control or exert pressure. It could tear things apart. So individually, as either husband or wife, in order to avoid violence, there's a space of what she was talking about, wisdom. The Bible says it's profitable to direct. If you don't, everybody can't be the same. The same way you talk to your first child, your second child might not react that way. And doesn't mean that that person is rude or you, because of his attitude, you want to make that person. You should understand the place of temperament and personality. And God has nothing to do with, even God also respect the place of our personality. The fact that your wife could be very violent should not necessarily make her an abusive person.
Yes.
If as a man, the
You know
place
how
of
to-
wisdom is in place and you know how to balance things, I think you really go a whole lot better for that individual.
Before we go further on that,
All right.
you know, we are discussing about the signs.
Yes.
Because I still have to talk about, I want us to talk about the triggering factors.
Okay.
But I want us to, apart from maybe when you are courting or in a relationship, he shouts at you, he shoves you or pushes you at the slightest provocation, what other signs should we look out for?
Essentially, it's, the physical signs are there, but the truth of the matter is there is so much you can see. You won't even see, sometimes you don't even see beyond your nose. Some people have the habit of covering things up. And they would cover it up so well that you don't even know that, okay, this person has this kind of traits. And that is where your leading by the Holy Spirit comes in. So it goes hand in hand.
Yes.
In as much as you are sensitive
Physically.
to look at this person's traits and everything, you really have to pray and ask God to lead you. Because you really cannot know somebody entirely. To say that, I've studied this person, I know him from A to Z, that's not true. That's not true. So if beyond the physical signs, you have seen all that, and then I would also like to mention, it's also important you study how your spouse or your future spouse treats other people. Because he might be all nice to you because you are that special person. So when this other person is not so special, how does he treat that person? Because there will come a day, love will not be enough.
Yes.
True.
The love will not be shacking him very much again.
Yeah.
So he will very likely treat you like the way he
We
treated
treat
the other
other
person the
person.
other time. So it's important that you check that. How does he treat other people? How cautious is he? How kind is he to other people? Very important. How does he treat his family? How does he treat his siblings? So he's very, easy to lash out a hand to his younger ones, but he's very nice to you. There will come a time that something that the younger one you might do worse. And then what happens? So it's very important that we look at all that. Beyond saying that, oh, he's nice to me, is that how does he treat other people? How kind is he to other people?
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So I want to ask, I don't want to believe that there is anybody on this earth whose default settings is to be violent. Maybe you just say, sister told me, please give me this, and I'm like, what? You know, or I would just, you know, I don't want to believe that there's anybody whose default setting is violence.
Yeah.
Which means even when the violence is embedded in them, there is something.
Yeah.
There are factors or something that could trigger. So what are those things? Okay, now we have found ourselves in that marriage. Because we've had situations whereby some people tell you that, I didn't know I was like this. I've had people tell me that, tell me, even this thing that I did, I didn't know I was capable of it. Or I had the ability to do it. Now, which means that something has triggered that attitude or that action in that person. So I want to know, what are the things, you're already in a marriage.
Yeah.
What are the things you should look out for in your spouses? Oh, there's this thing, oh, it could trigger this person. Watch out for, oh, triggering factors to watch out for.
You see, that's actually normal in everyday life. Even in a relationship, it doesn't even have to be violence. So you are in a relationship with your significant other, and you know that there are some things that upsets him or upsets her. Some things that, you know, it doesn't just go down well with them. It might not necessarily make them violent, but it can upset them. So those things it's normal for you to know that and then you to avoid them. But a lot of the time, when it comes to issues of domestic violence, to tell you the truth, people that experience and live with spouses that, you know, that are violent, a lot of the time they do not even know what to say that will arouse the next slap. You know, they live like they're walking on eggshells. You know, you don't know what to say next.
You don't know what to do next.
You don't know what to do next to upset this person. So it might not necessarily be what you did or what you did not do. Where is that person coming from? He may have been upset on his own and he's just waiting for you to just say one word for him to just lash out. And that is why we would say, for every victim of domestic or whatever form of violence, always know, because it's easy for us to say, why did you do that? It's probably because of what you did, you know, that made him do that. It's probably because of what you said that made him do this. But then I would ask, was beating the only option? So if somebody has said something, were there other options of actions to carry out? So a lot of the times, you get upset. Somebody says something that upsets you. But then you have a choice. It is entirely your choice to say, okay, you know what, I'm very upset right now, but I'm not going to lash out at you. I'm not going to shout at you. I'm not going to hit you. Some people will decide to walk away. Some people will just decide to shut you off and then keep quiet and go to their own corner. These are different approaches. But a lot of the time, so for us to say that there are triggers, there's something that you should do, something that you should not do, a lot of the time it is not like that. Because the person experiencing domestic violence does not even know what to say next that will upset this man. Sometimes people living in such, you know, tight, bitter, tense environment can just start talking about, oh, this is blue, this is yellow, and that can cause an argument. It's as bad as that. And somebody says, oh, this is my opinion, that's your, why would you say that? That is enough. While in another setting, this is not even enough, we can just laugh over it. But in another setting, it can cause issues.
So which means there's no black and white factors like, oh, strictly, there's outlined.
There is no. And it's never the fault of the victim. No matter what, it's hey, you talk too much. We have a lot of women who talk a lot, and the men decide to walk away and keep quiet. It is true. So it falls back on the man. You have a choice. You have a choice. It was your decision to be violent. Or if you were not violent, it was also your decision.
It's not just the man alone.
In vice versa. Let me put it like that. Vice versa.
Okay, I would like to ask a question. A question popped up in my mind, and I'm like, I want to ask. When we were talking about the signs, you said, okay, the signs are there for you to see. Now we are in the Christendom, and they tell you there are rules in courtship. I'm getting to a more sensitive part now, and that has to do with sex.
Right.
Some people will tell you that, okay, churches would give you rules that within your period of courtship until you're married, there is no sex. And now you find women, they get into the marriage and they discover that their husbands or their spouses are violent when it comes to sex. Let me explain.
Okay.
There's a story of someone very close to me that I know of, who got married a virgin to a pastor. And on the night of consummation, or the night of their marriage and they were supposed to consummate, the woman could not, she was scared. And the woman was telling us the experience that, sharing the experience with someone close to me, that she was running around the whole house like, please hold her, just wait for a while. And the man was busy chasing her like, this is the night.
Of course, now we have finished
Now,
everything.
where I'm coming is, or where I'm going is, I feel, you know, a lot of women experience sexual violence.
A lot.
A lot of married women experience sexual violence, and there is no boldness to talk about it because people will tell you that,
your husband.
Shebi is your husband.
Exactly.
But of which it is not so.
True.
I feel discovering that this lady is a virgin, I'm just using a mild instance now. Why don't you give her time to be psychologically ready? To have prepped up herself. Oh, let us say, oh, she should have prepped up herself now before then. Oh, maybe at the site, oh, reality has dawned on her.
Right.
She's not like, why shouldn't, I feel that the man should have, okay, let me give this lady time, let me calm her down, and all the rest. And he chose to have her that night by fire, by force. You should not laugh. Now, we have situations whereby there are some men or women that cannot have sex without being violent. Some people, they must beat themselves. I know a couple that I heard of that once they are fighting upstairs, the couple downstairs know that they will soon, the action will soon happen. That before they consummate or have any sexual relationship, they must get rough. Now, that one, both of them, it's mutual between them.
Exactly.
Now, we have people that it is one-sided, where the other spouse is like, do I have to go through this to enjoy sex? Do I have to go through this to satisfy my spouse? And the church has said, no form of sexual relations before marriage. Now we are talking about the signs. How do we now know? Okay, let me assume now that as an intending person, an intending sister to get married, for example, I'm getting into marriage. How do I know the kind of man? Or as a man, how do I know the kind of woman? Because
sexual orientation.
Yes, their sexual orientation. Are they violent? Are they mild? Are they... Because people are being abused. There are some women, there are some men that you can't tell no. True. Oh, I'm tired. They don't want to hear. So how do we, because we are talking about the signs, how do we know?
Okay, since we are delving into that, actually, if we want to make that as an excuse, you know, to say, all right, let's be sure, let's test the waters and be sure that, okay, this is what you are getting yourself into. Well, the laws of God, it remains the same. God is not going to change for us. His laws are there, and it is for us to abide by.
Right.
The truth of the matter is, what if, you know, it doesn't, the fact that you know beforehand, it might not necessarily make any difference. If you know beforehand. Okay, so what are you going to... Basically, what I would say is, there is always, it is never a helpless situation, especially when it comes to the issue of sexual orientation. It is expected that, okay, even if you are not going to engage in it, but okay, have this conversation. It is important that you go through counseling, and if you go through proper counseling, they will let you know. They will let you know. And the truth of the matter, for a man to have kept himself until the wedding night, and the lady is, like our people will say, it don't dey body. You understand? So it will be difficult for that man, even no matter how spiritual he is. He wants to get going with the action.
Yes.
And here you are. So it takes a lot of orientation for the lady, a lot of orientation for the man as well. So this is what you are getting into. These are the differences that you are going to see. He is a man. He is sexual. He would want to, maybe some ladies are even more sexual than some men.
Yes.
You know, but he might want it more than you do.
Yeah.
His libido might be higher than yours. That can happen. But what understanding? That's why communication is very important. How have you grown to communicate in this relationship? Because yes, all things will not be lovey-dovey. There will be times when he's doing some things that do not go down well with you. How do you sit him down to talk about it? His sexual orientation might not be, pleasant to you. You can sit him down. So two people must come in with this mindset. It is work, actually, for the man and for the woman. So we are going to compromise and come together at a middle where we would agree. So yes, there might be times where I am not in the mood. You should understand that. There might be times where I know that you have desires. I should understand that. So it's compromise that we have to come to. It does not, now, that is also not to say that, or that's not to trivialize what you raised up, that some people can be violent. It does happen in some marriage. Seek help. It's important to seek help. So maybe there are some things that your husband does not, understand. And if there's a counselor, a well-trained counselor, I'm sorry, I know we're in the church, but it's not all the time that it is the pastor. If you can seek professional help, where these things will be explained to you, and then you people have a proper understanding. That I think is the way to go.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Ma. Pastor Femi, do you have anything to say about that? Okay, so I'd like to ask, what are the effects of domestic abuse on children? Now, it's a different thing when it's just me and you.
Yeah.
But when we begin to have children, when we begin to have kids, what effects? Or does it even have any effect on the children? Or the children just like, well,
it does.
That's mom and dad's business. Let them do it how they like. Does it have any effect?
Unfortunately, they don't think so. They don't think it's mom and dad's business. They also see it as, affecting them. A lot of the time, it leaves a child very helpless and very scared. Because they are thinking that, okay, my father is probably going to kill my mother one day. Or my mother is going to kill my father one day. That child lives in a constant state of fear. So daddy is coming back from work and then they get into a conversation. The child is afraid of what might happen next. So this child is scared. This child, because such a child will see other parents outside. Her self-esteem is messed up. Because she thinks that there is something wrong with her family. Why can't her family be like the other family, next door neighbor's family? Something is wrong with her family. And then the way children think, they will think, oh, it's something to do with me. Maybe it's something I did wrong that is making my parents to, act like this or to fight. So they do everything they can so that they do not fight. It's not about them. But it affects them so much. So you see a child that has, serious complex issue. Such a child will look for love in all the wrong places. They will just look for love because they don't see it at home. Anybody that tells them, I love you, they would run after. So it affects children a lot. And it even goes into their adulthood. It affects how they see men. It affects how they see men. It affects how they relate with men. Now, this is the picture this is their normal. How do you expect that such a child will act in a relationship? Of course, violent. If she doesn't act violent, she would expect violence. She sees it as normal. So she puts herself in
I'm sorry, Ma. I remember a story where someone was telling me that he dated someone, and the lady, until you beat her, she's not
Okay.
she doesn't believe it is okay. You must beat me before she can get to her factory settings. Like, oh,
yeah.
okay, you must beat her. He said he had to relieve the relationship. That how can I be beating a woman before I can get the best out of you, or before you see that, oh, we are really in a relationship, I must beat you. The guy said, I had to cut out of the
Children,
relationship.
they grow up messed up. It messes children up a lot.
Thank you very much. I also want to say this. You're very right, because while you were talking here, I was almost out of this place, because I was trying to remember when I was growing up too, as a very young boy. It took me, I think I was in my 20s before I could look at my father in the eye. Like one-on-one to like, good morning, sir. Like, you get this smile. In fact, when I went to university, I got into Obafemi Awolowo University. After my first semester that I came back home, that was when I felt I was now man enough to actually sit beside my father and talk to him, because, I can't say it wasn't really violent, but, the fear was so much that it's better you just run away. When you hear the horn,
Everybody would disappear.
Even if the devil is playing with you, even the devil is all over you, the devil has to disappear at the presence of my dad. It was not God, but it was that tense. Because when I don't know, it was so bad that it took me, I think it's even still taking me a whole lot of work to really have that relationship with my dad up to today. Not because of anything, but because when I was growing up, that was the memory I had. And it became, up to today, it's still what I'm still trying to work on to really come to that point where you can really get a balance because of what I went through just as a child. And it almost changed my perspective about, I'm just saying that this is not even something you could be saying about people out there. I have like a first-hand experience, and so that also wasn't, I could, somehow, that's why sometimes when I like shout, sometimes I'm like, where is this coming from? Because also where I grew up, also from secondary school, the family I grew up, my sister, the husband was a very violent person, very, very violent, and to some extent almost changed my mindset about, is this all about marriage? Is my own thing when God had to heal me, took me to another setting of a marriage, a family, where I had to learn what it's meant to love, to really have affection, so you can be in a house, you can see a marriage that you would never hear any quarrel, any fight for years. So even after I got married, that was the only good experience I had about marriage. So when I want to take a decision about my marriage, I quickly cast my mind back to that experience while I was with this family. How did the husband handle the situation? How does he treat his wife? What are the things he does to make sure there's peace in the house? That was the only experience God gave me, to be able to have a balanced home and a balanced marriage. Yes. If I brought my experience from where I was coming from, I tell you, I won't have a marriage today, I tell you.
And do you know...
So is that terrible?
Yeah. Do you know that a lot of the time, back in the day, they would say, don't leave because of the children, because of the children stay. Do you know that 90% of those children will tell you that I wish my mother had left? The same children that you think that, because of them, they grow up messed up.
Like me, I thank God my mom left.
Okay.
See what it wasn't a funny experience for me. I feel God had to do a lot of pruning.
Right.
It took God. Even till today, there are times that, thank God for, that's why I would say that, just chip in this, that for every person, every child, or every male, every female, every brother, sister out there that had gone through domestic violence, or you're still going through it, maybe you're married, you're still with your parents, never, and you're ready in God, commit your journey into the hands of God. Right. Remind God that, and Yoruba people will say, "Iran metaki toshi." 3 generations does not suffer poverty.
Right.
So keep telling God what my parents suffered, I would not suffer.
Exactly.
Do not neglect the place of prayer. I don't want to share because I don't want to become emotional. I'm sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
So, what are other effects? Okay, for
quickly
your
have,
comments.
some more questions, yes, and I think probably before we go today, you should quickly address it. Maybe,
okay.
what
Let us take it
government,
now.
what
Let us take
government,
it.
how
Yes,
government
yes,
can help
yes,
our
yes.
church,
Right.
because somebody is asking her 3 questions here. Shola Olulafe said, why are we gender biased? Some men are also going through
yeah, we
domestic
already
abuse.
spoke about
We've
it.
spoken about that too.
That
So let me move to
men-
the, yes, she has talked about that. And somebody is also saying, Jeremiah Jacob, is there any legal action and vetted medium to report cases of domestic abuse?
We'll get
Yes.
to that.
Okay, we'll get to that. And that person says, are there cases of reported domestic abuse that have been well attended to? That's another question. Somebody also said, Pastor Shola said, there is a bondage called sexual masochism disorder.
Masochism, yes.
He said, where certain people only get aroused via violence.
Yes. Yeah.
He said, what should the man married to such people do? Only God delivers from all sorts
Sort
of
of
domestic
bond-
strongholds. Let's have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let us, I don't know, do we still have other effects that domestic violence have on children before we start attending to the question?
Yeah, okay, I think we've covered it basically. It leaves them, with a messed up self-esteem, and they grow up blaming themselves sometimes for what has happened. They grow up with trust issues, with
You're
men.
very right. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I remember some months back, I was talking to a couple in my house, and I don't know what they said. And I told them, I don't know what the man said, and I said, even me, I don't trust myself. It's only God that knows what I am capable of doing. So I had this problem of trusting people.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I tell you that I don't trust myself, how do you expect that same me to trust you? So I think the person asked me that, don't you trust your husband? I said, I trust him with the trust of God. Please, don't misquote me. I said, I trust God.
Right.
That my husband will not betray me
Right.
or do something
Right.
harmful. Not because on a normal note, I'm not supposed to trust him.
Right.
But at some point, I began to know that this my background has
stronghold.
tampered with my orientation.
Honestly.
So because of that, I expect anything
Right.
from anybody. So I'll just tell God, once I know that I'm beginning to get, that's why I have a problem making friends. Because of trust. Because I'm somebody that if I love you, I love you finish. If I like you finish. So I had to hold on to God.
You also hate finish.
I don't hate finish.
All
That
right.
is my problem. I don't, no, really.
You are not
I rather
supposed
not
to
have,
hate.
yes, I rather not have anything to do with you and
Right.
remain indifferent than develop hatred towards you. So I had to start leaning on God
Right.
to be able to trust someone that, okay, I'd rather trust God to help this person not to hurt or betray me.
Yeah.
So I hold on to God,
To God.
rather than to that person.
It's
So
a
I
better
noticed
way.
that my background tampered with my trust system.
Yeah.
That I will tell you, I don't trust myself, so don't even expect me to
trust
trust
somebody.
you.
Right.
So,
Okay. All right. So it also affects the people directly involved. There are people that have developed depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety disorder, all sorts. We're not even talking about the physical, injuries or deformation that happens through domestic. So the effects are a lot. They are a lot. And then maybe I'll quickly answer the legal or government.
yes, before we go to that, I would like you to tell us, does this have any effects on the society? Domestic abuse,
society.
well, is related within the family, but does it have any effects on the society or the nation as a whole?
It does, because the bedrock of the society is the family. The family is the bedrock of the society. So if we miss it there, we've missed it everywhere else.
Yes.
Guess what? In recent times, the rate of rape and sexual assault has skyrocketed. And of course, we go back to ask this question, what's happening to the men that they are raising these days? What's happening to the women that they are raising these days? So it's from the family. If the family structure is one that is balanced, we would raise better men. We would raise better women. We will raise men who would not, you know, perpetrate violence. We will raise women who will not also perpetrate violence as well. So it's far-reaching actually on the society.
And also the issue of divorce.
Exactly. It's
so
alarming.
many people can't withstand the stress of violence in their home.
It's alarming.
So it's alarming.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Then we now go to, okay, we know that men suffer domestic violence. Women also suffer domestic violence. They even have to, they seem to be the prominent or the major, yes. And children too. They even suffer it both directly and indirectly. What help? How can they get help? How can they seek help? Because I remember, I was sharing my story backstage that I will run upstairs. Please come and help me. And the last time I said I wasn't going to go there because they were laughing at me. And before they even came to separate my parents, I had even gone there myself to help that. Before this, I don't know what next would happen.
Exactly.
And it looks like even neighbors could get tired.
Yes.
So what can what does the government have to offer?
I would say
to people
that,
going through, or how can they seek help
in this present day
generation?
It's a good time to be living in Lagos State, I would say, actually, because I would give it to the governor of Lagos State. He has done a lot. Lagos State is at the forefront of fighting and combating domestic violence all over the country. They are actually at the forefront. They have agencies in place. For instance, the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team. They handle issues of domestic violence. So all forms of domestic violence, they have this department in Lagos State Secretariat where every complaint, be it marital, be it, child, whatever form of domestic violence they handle, and they are very trustworthy. We also have other NGOs that do this, also do the work. The Mirabel Center, they are doing a great work. And we have Project Alert also. They are focused on domestic violence against women. There is the PBO Foundation and several other foundations, organizations that, help, with issues. But so there is help. Okay. That's what I'm trying to say. Especially if you're in Lagos State, you cannot afford to die in silence.
So those that are not in Lagos State now.
Well, let's start here. Okay. Some states are beginning to take
over.
Yeah, catch up with it and say, okay, this is what Lagos State is doing. How can we do this? How can we do that? They come in to do that, but there is help. There is help available. In fact, if you are too far from the Lagos State, just go to any police station. If you are suffering from any form of, just walk up to any police station and lay a complaint, and then they will direct you what to do.
So I would like to ask, the church being the home of the Christians, how can we help people suffering from domestic violence? What advice? What I'm sorry, as a Christian, I'm of the opinion that if your spouse is molesting you or abusing you, and you've tried all sorts of measures, and you've called this family, you've called this friends, and nothing is working, I'm of the opinion that, okay, maybe take separation for a while. But some people will say, no, separation is not good. I'm saying to curb life-threatening events.
Exactly.
So I am saying now, what advice or how can the church help people suffering from domestic violence?
I think the church will do a lot. The action of the church will go a long way, because all these people, sometimes they are brothers in the church, sometimes they are church workers, sometimes they are pastors, sometimes they are pastresses. They are, they are in the church. It happens in the church, and a lot of the time, we want to faith it away. I'm sorry to say. The church will want to say, okay, it's so, that did not happen. Pray about it.
Let's pray about it.
But this person, if care is not taken, that person might lose their life. So the church needs to do better. The church needs to do better. If somebody is suffering from domestic violence, okay, so maybe you call for a meeting the first and second time. By the third time, Get authorities involved. Let the authorities be involved and let them know that you do not stand for this, because a lot of the time the church tends to cover this up. They tend to cover it up, so let's not cover it up. Let us point out and say, okay, this is an anomaly, this is wrong. Let us do what is right. That is what I think the church can do.
Okay.
And then, yes, where there is risk to life, it's important that separation be put into place.
So I want to ask, I've seen situations, there are two things I want us to discuss before we close now,
Okay.
because we're rounding up. There are situations whereby I've seen men, a few men, that they exhibit violent traits or abuse their spouses and then become sober. And they're like, how come I've done this?
Yeah.
What advice do we have for such men who, after doing, maybe beating up their wives or shouting, they feel sober? It's not something they actually wanted to do. How can they get help? What advice do we have for them?
A lot of the time that happens, and when that happens, you need to ask yourself this question. Is this going to happen? How long will this continue to happen before I seek help? The person that is remorseful, is he willing to seek help? That is the question you must ask. If that person is willing to seek help, then you know, okay, this person
Wants to change.
That's very important. Yeah.
Okay, so for men going through domestic violence, because of their ego, a lot of them find it difficult to come out and declare to people or open up. What word do you have for them?
Well,
then, Pastor Femi, over to you.
They are not alone,
She's
but
done.
seek help as much as you can. Seek help. There is help out there. So seek help. And then if it is a risk to your life, you know,
Take
seek
cover
help
for
from a
the-
distance.
Okay.
It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'm trying to read what one of the comments we have here before I just round up. Is trying to come up. All right, we thank every one of us, all the viewers today, and for all your questions and your comments today. We believe that we are all blessed on this today edition of the Hangouts all over the world. Please ensure to help one member of your family, help somebody who is going through domestic violence and abuse. Let them come to this platform, share and like. Let them go through it. Explain. You've learned a lot how to overcome domestic violence. For those of you, you know one or two people who are going through this situation called domestic violence. I trust that we are blessed today. See you the same time next week, Wednesday. We trust God that God will bless us and keep every one of us. Thank you, Mrs. Shokoya, today for your time today. It was nice having you today. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Michael,
Uncle.
Mrs. Well, I see you at the same time next time. We are of Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG Graceville. See you next week, Wednesday. Bye. This
Be lifted high. Be lifted high. Oh Lord, yes, lifted high. For you are holy, righteous, and worthy. Oh Lord, be lifted. One more time, let's say it one more time. Lift your hands.